In this video, we'll address the question, why should we study SQL? For that, we'll have to understand what data is, what is a database, and what is a DBMS. And I am your instructor, Divya Thakur. So data can be any facts or any information related to an object of consideration. For example, there's a girl over here whose name is Emma, whose age is 25 and whose date of birth is 22nd of October 1995. You can also place much more information about her, like the food she likes to eat, the car she has, the house she owns, and the salary she earns. Now, data can also be in the form of images, like over here, in the form of videos, in the form of files, PDF, text matters, etc. Now, what is a database? So, database you can visualize as a container which stores all this data, all this information, and this database is electronically storing all that data. And database is basically found on computers, or suppose you are having a company, so you need large scale storage of databases, which is done on servers. So servers are just specifically dedicated computers that store these databases. So you may already be using a database in day-to-day life. For example, in Google, if you type a query, so the results are fetched from a database, and that database is stored in the Google servers. All the other mobile applications that you're using, like Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, also store and retrieve data from a database. What is the purpose of using a database? It's because this type of data, which when stored in a database, becomes easily accessible, easily modifiable, and can be protected and also used for different purpose of analysis. So let's look at a story. So suppose you own a specialty cat store and you have designed a website for that, and also this kind of an interface for purchase of cats and cat related stuff like its costumes, its biscuits and all. So what will people do if orders start coming in? They will make a spreadsheet. For example, your customer is Mary Johnson. The product she is buying is cat leash. Quantity is just one, and the date of her buying, and also the address at which she has asked you to deliver it. Mark Smith, Kim Jones, David Williams, and so on. These are your customers. But suppose Mary Johnson asks you again to let her make a purchase of cat leash, but this time the quantity is 3. Okay? And also she will be changing the address. So you get redundant data of Mary Johnson twice in your spreadsheet, and also contradictory data. That is, you have now 2 addresses at which you will be having to send those orders. Now what if she calls you and inquires, where is my order? So if you find in your spreadsheet about Mary Johnson, you are seeing that there are 3 orders, one of a cat leash and one of a bowl. And also 3 different addresses are being provided. So you get confused if this Mary Johnson is the same who called or some other Mary Johnsons. So to overcome this kind of contradictory and redundancy problems, what the firms did was to segregate these entities. For example, they made a separate spreadsheet for customers, separate spreadsheet for the products, that is the inventory products in their store, and for the orders a separate spreadsheet. So what does this customer table or spreadsheet contains? It contains a customer ID, the customer name, the customer's address, and also the phone numbers. So as you can see, Mary Johnson has been given one particular customer ID, and if she ever changes the address change will be reflected over here as well. In the product table, you are listing the catalog of the quantities found in your store. So this is the quantity and this is the product, and these are the product IDs. So as soon as you get a buyer for cat leash, suppose she's buying 3 quantities, you will cut down the quantity here as well. And in the orders table, what is happening? Every order is being given a different ID. Customer ID, product ID is also being noted down here, and the shipping address. For example, now Mary Johnson ordered this particular order at a shipping address, and then she ordered a different order at a different shipping address. So that will be stored. And also the customer ID will be stored. So you can see if that customer ID is matching and now the shipping address is different. So this calls us to an entity relationship diagram, which means that these tables are related to each other. So the customer ID is stored in the order table and also the product ID is stored in the order table. So you can treat these tables as entities, their column names as attributes. So as you can see, so this makes visualizing our database easier. And then you can also draw in the connections that these tables are having with each other. So this is what forms entity relationship diagram and is very useful when you will be later using databases. Now let's come to database management system. A database management system is a software which is used to manage the database. DBMS provides an interface to perform various operations like creation of the data, storage of data in it, updation of the data, and creating a table in the database. And for this purpose, some languages are used like SQL, MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, Neo4j, Cassandra, etc. Now let's move on to RDBMS, which is Relationship Database Management System. So this contains a number of tables, each table is having columns and rows. So one row is known as one record and one column stores only one particular type of data. As you can see over here, this name column will have only text data. This date of birth will have only date time data. And phone number will have numeric data only. Suppose there is an office database in which you have the details of employee, the details of managers, and department details in separate tables. So employees are connected to manager because the manager ID and the manager name are connected. Now departments and managers are also connected as department ID and this ID matches. Now if you want to retrieve information about the employee from the department, then you will have to do some kind of programming, do some kind of query. So for that, structured query language is used. And this kind of a relationship database management system is mostly carried out in banks, insurance companies, and also in many other different companies like Netflix, Oracle, etc. So SQL is a standard and the DBMS used are Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, etc. This is all. Thank you for watching.